Welcome back to the Back in Time podcast, and welcome to a special episode today. We're breaking down another top 5 list, but before we get into what we're breaking down, let me welcome in my co-host, as always, JD. JD, how you doing?
Word up, my friend. I'm doing pretty freaking fantastic. I've had a pretty good day about myself, and this is a great list that you have ahead of us, and I'm super stoked to jump into it.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Now, it's been a little while since we talked. Now, real quick before we dive into it, man, how was the concert, dude?
Beck, Cage the Elephant, Spoon, and a little band called Wild Bell. Fantastic. At the Ruoff Center in outside of Indianapolis. Cage the Elephant lead singer stripped down to his skivvies and climbed onto the roof of the pavilion and just danced the night away.
Seems totally unnecessary, but I would have been excited. I like it. Well, good. Glad you had a good time. You know, Ruoff, who owns that pavilion, that's where I got my mortgage through. Good people. I think. They could be screwing me. They might be horrible people.
Well, that's funny. I thought you were going to say that's where you lost your virginity through, but... Wistful.
Makes me wistful. Yeah, let's jump into the list here, man. So this week we're talking about top 5 teen movies of all time. Little caveat, I guess, before we get into this, there was a couple movies that we talked about before I hit record that I don't think they quite hit the teen genre. I mean, there's some movies like Goonies, for example, it's really more of a kids movie. They're young kids. They're not teenagers in high school. So we want to try and keep it around that teenage years, maybe, I wouldn't even say early college years. I don't know what you have on your list, JD. But around that teenage years, and this isn't necessarily what we feel like are the best movies of all time, but just our favorite movies. JD, anything you want to add before we start breaking this bad boy down?
Movies you're in, they're not necessarily geared towards teens or towards children like Goonies would be, but it's a more sophisticated audience, a wistful audience.
Okay. I like where your head's at, and I'd like to get to number 5, and let's start breaking it down. I'll go first, JD. I'll let you close us off here. Number 5 for me, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one that we have not covered on the podcast yet. It's a movie about a group of high school students from 1954 who are trying to help their buddy Little Pee-wee lose his virginity. I'm talking about the 1981 comedy film Porkys.
Brandy, hon, would you get that for me? You got it. It'll start back doing things. Dead beats.
Hello. Hi. I'm looking for a friend of mine. He's supposed to be there.
What's his name?
His name's Michael Hunt. Mike, yes, Mike.
Mike Hunt, okay, just hang on a minute. Is Mike Hunt here? Is Mike Hunt here?
I don't know who's talking.
Has anybody seen Mike Hunt?
Everybody in town from what I...
Hey, Frank, ask for the car hops if Mike Hunt's outside.
JD, how do you feel about my number 5 pick here?
It's interesting that you would go right to Porky's, because I feel like my number 5 pick is probably going to scratch your itch in a very weird way, much that I feel having 1981's Porky's is probably going to catch a lot of people, minus Chris Clues, in a conundrum. Were they ready for this? Were they ready to hear you talk about Porky's?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Porky's gets a lot of love anymore for some reason, but this was a massive movie. I remember talking with my dad because he was the one that introduced me to this movie, and he's like, I saw this thing in theaters. He goes, I had to sit in the like aisleway because it was a jam-packed house. Like, people could not get enough of this movie. It actually made over $100 million at the box office in the US. So it was a massive movie, but when's the last time you went to a store and saw like a Blu-ray release of this?
It has been a long time, but let me double down on you and say, when's the last time you went to a theater and had to sit down in the aisle to watch the movie.
Oh gosh, I would never do. I prefer that actually nobody be in there. I don't like being around the crowd, and I want to be front and center with an extra seat in between me with my legs straight up on top of the chair in front of me. So yeah, I would not have been happy sitting in the aisle, and I probably would not have done that. I would have left and gone home. So yeah, little known fact about me. I'll have a bag of Skittles, probably something that I snuck in the old pocket, probably like a nice soda pop, as they might say. But yeah, big guy over here likes to be comfortable. I do not want to be crammed in. Now, JD, let's get to your number 5 pick, man. What do you got at the 5 spot?
Like I said, this is kind of a wild card, and I kind of am anticipating that you're going to give me a little bit of shit for it.
Okay.
I am heading to 1985 for one of the greatest American basketball movies ever, Teen Wolf.
I'd like a keg of beer, please.
You don't say.
Yeah, how much is that?
Hearing ID, Sonny. You little bastards just won't give up, will you? Listen, no ID, no goddamn beer. Can't you get that through your thick skull?
Give me a keg of beer.
I don't have any issues with that. In fact, I'm surprised that's actually not higher on your list, to be frank with you, because I know you love Teen Wolf. Although I am a little worried that Teen Wolf 2 might be number 1 on your list. We'll see. But no, I love Teen Wolf. I think that's a great movie. And, you know, it's a basketball movie. So all of a sudden you've got me interested because you know my love of basketball films.
Oh, and Scott Howard brings down the house in this film.
Yeah, he did. Well, so does Chubbs, though. I mean, you got to give him his due.
Well, that's true. Chubbs somehow's on the basketball team. I mean, Kyle, let's be honest. Were you Chubbs on the basketball team in high school?
Oh, dear Lord, no. I was captain, man. I was stud.
Captain Stud? Is that what the ladies called you? Hey, Captain Stud. And then all the guys just called you Chubbs. And then all the girls really called you Little Chubbs.
No, I mean, to be serious for a second, my nickname was actually Big Country. And I was nicknamed after Bryant Reeves, the big old center from the Vancouver Grizzlies. Just to prove you wrong, I may have to send you a clip of me schooling fools on the court. That might have to happen. But let's keep chugging along, man. I like your number 5 pick. I'm happy with that. So number 4 for me, it's about teenage boys trying to lose that virginity on prom night. There's 4 of them. They make a pact. It's in our archives. I'm talking about the 1999 film American Pie, man.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh.
You know before, dude. Houston, we have a problem.
What happened? What did he do?
He blew it.
I guess I'll be going now.
No. I'm not done, Nadia. I've got reserves. Nadia, please, I'm begging you.
Well, I do like your dirty magazines.
You do? Okay. Well, did you see this one? This here is your more exotic, risque magazine. Oh, he's pulling out the porn.
He's desperate. Jim, just wait till she leaves.
I love this movie. I love the cast. Stifler's mom, Jim's dad. You got the flute-toting band geek chick, Michelle. I mean, gosh, I'm actually a little disappointed I didn't put this higher on my list, but number 4, man, American Pie. What do you think?
It's a great pick. I think everything about this movie and its raunchiness and its exploitation of high school, it is so perfectly 1999. If you've not seen this movie and you want a time capsule movie, this is it. Get into your time machine and watch this movie, and you will see and experience what life was like pre 9/11, and that's, to me, massively huge. That's what she said.
Well played, sir. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. And again, check out the full review that we did in our archives. It's been quite a while. That was one of our early movies that we covered, but at some point we have to get to part 2. I actually just because I watched American Pie when I was in high school. When American Pie 2 came out, I was about to go to college. Like, it was just the perfect timing and like the evolution of where I was at in life. And it kind of lined up perfectly with these movies. So I like number 2 as much as like I like number 1.
Kevin Malone.
Kevin Malone. I love it. All right, we're over to you, man. What do you got for number 4?
I gotta say, I'm unoriginal. I am 1999 American Pie right back at you. I think, again, it's an excellent portrayal of American high school shenanigans, prom night antics, great acting, great music. It's a fantastic teen movie. Like, this is sort of, when you talk about end of the 90s, this shuts it down. This is it. This is what you want to see.
Yeah, bringing in the new millennium, man. We all thought we were going to lose our computers and the power grid was going to go out. I think my parents were stocked up on water and bread, and nothing happened but the old number turning over the zeros. Let's jump to number 3, man. Keep chugging along here. So I am, and this one, I honestly thought about putting this at number 1, and then it went to number 2, and I was like, all right, I guess it can be number 3. This was a tough one for me. But it's the last day of school in 1976, and we're following the boys from Dazed and Confused.
You're a freshman, right? Yeah. So tell me, man, how's this year's crop of freshman chicks looking?
What, you could end up in jail sometime really soon, I know that. Fact.
No, man.
Yeah.
No, man, I tell you.
Yeah.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Another one that we haven't done on the podcast yet. I think that's going to have to be pretty soon. But man, just another great cast. A lot of really good young actors, some of which are still around, still doing the thing. What do you think about my pick here?
It's a great pick. It's a fantastic movie. It is, again, one of those movies that is a tentpole of the time that really just sort of shows off and exemplifies an American classic. It's like A&P. I mean, it's John Updike in a film.
Would you say it's all right, all right?
All right, all right, all right. Yeah. Of course I would. And I haven't. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but man, oh man. It blends the lines between like a high school movie and a college movie for so many good ways, and everything about it just, it can't exist in 2019, so you have to accept it for what it is at the time that it is.
Yeah. Now I've got 2 questions for you. One, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this in previous episodes, but are you or are you not a big fan of Richard Linklater?
Oh, love Richard Linklater. He's fantastic at what he does. We talked about him a little bit in our top Keanu Reeves movies. When I just totally that comes out as sortily gushed about everything that he did with the Scanner Darkleys.
Okay. So, now here's question 2.
Which you predicted that you knew it would be on my list.
Yeah, very pretentious. Second question for you. Did you see the follow-up to this movie, which is called Everybody Wants Some, that he also wrote and directed, that came out in 2016?
I did not. No, that is beyond me.
Did you know that existed?
I remember it coming out. It was on my radar, and I just did not ever see it.
Well, I'm excited to tell you, I saw it. I saw it twice. I saw it a third time. I loved it. I think it's a movie you need to watch. Because he doesn't try to reboot it. He just goes 4 years into the future. So it goes from 76 to 80. So it's still a timepiece, and the characters are awesome. It feels like Dazed and Confused in some parts, but it's its own movie. I actually think you would really love it.
Done. On my list.
Okay, there you go. Now let's keep chugging along here. So what is your number 3 pick here?
I'm sticking in 1999. I am looking at a movie that's based on a Shakespearean play, The Taming of the Shrew. We're looking at Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Larissa Oloniak, however you say her name. She's a fantastic actress. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Would you give me a chance, sister?
You were paid to take me out by the one person I truly hate. I knew this was a setup.
Kat, it wasn't like that, okay?
Really, what was it like? A down payment now and then a bonus for sleeping with me?
No, I didn't care about the money, okay? I cared about you.
You are so not who I thought you were.
I love it. Also, David Krumholtz, don't leave him out.
Oh, I Santa Claus in the archives.
Yeah. Got Charlie. Good old Charlie. We hate him, don't we? Now, you had me 10, man. 10 things I hate about you. Can I be honest for a second? I thought when you said Julia Stiles and you said something about Shakespeare, I actually thought you were talking about the 2001 movie called O, which is also with Julia Stiles, and it's not Heath Ledger, but it's Josh Hartnett. And I kind of mixed the two up, and I was like, oh, dude, you went with another basketball movie? I got really excited.
I do love O based on Othello, which I personally like more as a work of Shakespeare than Taming of the Shrew. I think Othello is a lot better, but I think I like 10 Things I Hate About You a lot more. But yeah, no, Josh Hartnett as Iago in that movie he's fantastic in that. I kind of definitely forgot about that. I wish you would have warned me so I could have maybe adjusted my list accordingly.
You know what? And again, this kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning. If this were a list of the best movies, I think that would be on my top 5. I really like that movie. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like 10 Things I Hate About You, or I don't think that's a good choice. I actually really love that movie. And it's part of why I was a little hesitant when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, because I saw 10 Things I Hate About You. He's kind of goofy. I just didn't see him being able to pull off that role. And then when he did, I was just like, ooh, good for him. Way more talented than I thought.
Apt, Kyle. Apt.
Yeah. Way more apt. Okay. Good correction. Okay. Well, number 3, pretty solid. We're to the final countdown, man. Top 2. For me, this definitely could have gone either way. Again, my 1, 2, and 3, I kind of went back and forth for a while. But when we hit record, I had to make a choice. So we've talked about this movie before. It's been in previous episodes. We have not covered this one on the podcast either. Or either, if you want to correct me again. And I'm talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second. How could I possibly be expected to handle school on a day like this? This is my 9th sick day this semester. It's getting pretty tough coming up with new illnesses. If I go for 10, I'm probably gonna have to barf up a lung. So I better make this one count. The key to faking out the parents is the clammy hands. It's a good non-specific symptom. I'm a big believer in it. A lot of people will tell you that a good phony fever is a deadlock, but you get a nervous mother, you could wind up in a doctor's office. That's worse than school. You fake a stomach cramp, and when you're bent over, moaning and wailing, you lick your palms. It's a little childish and stupid, but then so is high school. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
I just feel like this kind of encapsulates like that time period of 1986. Not only that, but also, wanting a day off from school, doing whatever it takes to trick your parents into thinking that you actually are sick, so you can go out on the town, catch a Cubs game, go to an expensive lunch, and just get your good old stuck in the mud buddy Cameron Fry, aka very JD-ish, out of the house and just let him cut loose, man. Also, we got Rooney, who's a great villain in this movie. JD, what do you think about my number 2?
I spend my top 5, and it's only because I think of it more as an action-adventure movie and less of a teen movie. But that's the beauty part about Ferris Bueller. You can watch it under so many different lenses and examine the characters and the action and the portrayal of what they do and what go through. It's a fantastic pick.
Okay. Very good. Well, let's go over to your number 2 pick. What do you got?
I want to do this. Kyle, let's see if you can pick my number 2 pick, because in the past you've done a great job of calling me out on my pretentious bullshit. So you predict my number 2.
Okay, this is going to be fun. I'm going to go with, let me pull up a little list here, see what I'm thinking. What would be the most pretentious movie to put on that list? Dead Poets Society.
Nope, you're wrong, and you're an idiot, and I hate you.
Okay, yeah. Seems right. All right, what do you got?
Drum roll, 1988. Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, it's Heathers.
If you're gonna openly be a bitch, it's just Heather. Why can't we talk to different kinds of people? Fuck me gently with the chainsaw. Do I look like Mother Teresa? Your diary.
This is sort of a swan song to movies that came out years later, like, Mean Girls. You don't have a movie like Mean Girls without Heathers first, digging its high heels into the turf. It's hilarious. It's spooky. It's scary. Christian Slater is frightening in this movie. The opening scene with the whole little croquet number that they're doing, and it's just, if you've not seen this, check it, correct it, and just enjoy the out of it.
Okay. Well, let's get to the list. We'll break it down from 5 to 1. I started in 1981 with the teen comedy Porkys, and then I went to 99 with American Pie, and then I was dazed and confused in a fog of marijuana and just stoned out of my mind. And then for number 2, I was hanging out with Abe Froman, Sausage King of Chicago, with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And number 1, Thou Shall Not Fall. I'm talking about the 1987 horror film, The Lost Boys.
You don't know shit, buddy. Yeah. You think we just work in a comic book store for our folks, huh?
Actually, I thought it was a bakery.
This is just our cover. We're dedicated to a higher purpose. We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
Right.
Hey, man. Read this.
I told you, I don't like horror comics.
Think of it more as a survival manual. There's a number on the back. And pray if you never need to call us.
One of my all-time favorites. We've got a little Kiefer Sutherland. We've got the 2 Coreys in the height of their superstardom. We've got a great supporting cast with Diane West and Bernard Hughes and Edward Herrmann and Jamie Gertz. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. I think it holds up to this day. We've covered it in the archives. You can check it out anytime you want. JD, what do you think about my number 1 choice that I kept hidden from you?
You did keep it hidden from me, so congrats to you. Again, I think I love the way that you approach this list of what is a teen movie, because this is a fantastic choice, and my mind was not in this arena the same way that yours was, which is why I love when we do these top 5s, because I just was not thinking Lost Boys, and that's such a fantastic pick.
Yep, not Lost Kids, Lost Boys. So let's break down your top 5, and then you can give us your number 1 here, JD. So you were in 85 to start us off with a Teen Wolf basketball movie with Michael J. Fox. In 99, number 4 pick, you were the same as me, American Pie. At number 3, we stayed in 1999 for 10 Things I Hate About You. And then you had the surprise, maybe the sleeper of the list here, with Heathers from 1988. How do you round out the top 5, JD? What's your number 1 pick here?
My number 1 pick, I am heading to the early 2000s. We're looking at Ryan Gosling, The Notebook.
You gotta stop. That can't be number 1.
No, that's not number 1. Obviously, that's not number 1.
Oh, thank God. Oh.
Kyle, you got so wistful. You were like, that was going to be my number 1.
Seriously, though, what is it? Napoleon Dynamite? Come on.
No, it's 1995. I am picking Clueless.
College and crybaby music.
Hey, who's watching the Galleria?
So, the flannel shirt deal, is that a nod to the crispy Seattle weather, or are you just trying to stay warm in front of the refrigerator?
Oh, wow, you're filling out there.
Oh, wow, your face is catching up with your mouth.
I left my dad's office.
He is not your dad. Why don't you torture your new family?
Hey, just because my mother marries someone else doesn't mean he's my father.
Actually, Kato, that's exactly what it means. I hope you're not thinking of staying here.
I sure want to.
I'm sure you do.
I got a place in Westwood near school.
Shouldn't you go to school on the East Coast? I hear girls at NYU aren't at all particular.
You're funny.
Okay, so number one, you go with a kind of a chick flick. A little surprising here with your pick.
It is kind of a chick flick. You know, I almost feel like maybe I could have picked Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet and called that a teen movie, but we're sticking with Paul Rudd in the same vein. And I think this movie is a fantastic example of well put together, well acted, well scored, well directed, well written. Everything about it, again, just is 1995 in a time capsule. And if you were not born in 1995, and if you want to know what it was like to be alive in 1995, boom, watch this movie. And if you did live through it and you want to remember it, watch this movie. It's just as if.
Okay.
Totally valid.
As if, JD. You know what? Confession time here. I freaking love Clueless. I can't even act like I don't.
Everybody does. Nobody hates Clueless.
I do like the movie. I think it's a very solid movie. It's got a nice young and up and coming cast. The late Brittany Murphy. You got Paul Rudd, who honestly, has the guy aged? I don't think he has. He kind of looks the same as he did in 95 here. And if you would have asked 10-year-old Kyle in 1995, who's your crush? Who's your sweetheart? I would have popped open my little lunchbox and you would have saw a picture of Alicia Silverstone, because that was my girl in 1995.
What do you think about her portrayal as Batgirl and Batman and Robin?
Gosh, that's a long discussion there. Horrible movie. I was actually excited that she was in it because it was only a couple years after that, so I was still kind of like, she still got it. But yeah, no, Batman and Robin, horrible movie. And I think at some point we're going to have to cover it. And it's going to be an hour straight of us talking about how terrible of a movie it is.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. I feel like you mispronounced terrible and you meant to say awesome.
Oh gosh, you like the movie. Oh no. Well, it's going to be a fun discussion when we get there. We'll see. But let's get to some honorable mentions, man. I always like to throw a couple of them in here. There were a couple that were, to steal a line from Major League, just a bit outside of my top 10 list here, and I'll throw a couple of them down. Number one, Superbad. I actually really like that movie, but it's kind of out of our target demo. It's a 2007 movie, which is why I kind of left it off the list here. I think as it ages another 10 or 15 years, it could eventually be on there. But that movie was one that I liked that did make the list. And then A Karate Kid was another one of those that I wanted to put on the list, but I didn't. And probably even Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I mean, that's about teen kids. Couple slackers traveling through time. I think it's pretty solid. We could even throw Back to the Future on there too, because of Marty's character. And there's definitely, I mean, the first one's all about teenage years.
You're definitely right. I love the way that you were coming at teen movies differently than I was coming at teen movies, because for me, when I'm talking about honorable mention, I have movies such as The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
I have Mean Girls. I have A Cinderella Story. Breakfast Club, Mean Girls. Those are my honorable mention movies. Napoleon Dynamite,
it was a huge movie when it came out, man.
Oh, it still is a huge movie.
Yeah. Set 1% milk, you could be drinking 2. So stupid. But yeah, I mean, it was hilarious at the time. I actually went as Napoleon Dynamite for Halloween one year. Dressed up, had the whole outfit picked out, had the wild fro. Yeah, I look cool. I've got a photo somewhere. I should find it. Make you get a kick out of it.
No, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, good point. Well taken. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up for today with another top 5 episode here. As always, guys, hit that download button. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, Google Podcast, and YouTube. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram. We're at backintimepod. You can find us on Facebook. Just search Back in Time Podcast. You can email us at backintimepodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow the blog over at backintimepod.com. But for now, we're out of time. Time to hop back into the old DeLorean and cruise on back to present day. We'll be back next week with all new episodes. See ya!
I really think Napoleon Dynamite could have probably been included. Damn you, Kyle, for joking about it.
How you tore your dress, what